morning. How you all doing? You all ready? You're excited? You're on fire for the Messiah? To make some fire? Well, it's always a pleasure and a treat to be journeying with you. And I had a lot of fun yesterday. I actually came to a conclusion. I actually like you all. I like you all. There's something about when you're in a room with people that are like-minded and draw, you just feel it's easy. And I said to David, I said to Ethan this morning when he fetched me, I just said, man, the room was easy. It's just easy to deliver and feel comfortable because it's not like you have to persuade people. It's just like, yeah, you already know it. I'm just here to give you an alignment. I'm here to give you a chiropractic click. Just a little nudge like that to click something in place that you already know. Some of you may know it, and that's my assignment. So I had a few people asking me about my bivocation and asking me, how do you stay focused? I've had people over my journey go, aren't you like dive focused? Aren't you like, you know, running all over the show? And I'm like, I'm in the same business. I build people. I say whether I'm in the church or whether I'm in the marketplace or whether I'm in the coaching arena, my number one assignment is to build people. I just use different vehicles and tools. And so it's like, don't put me in a box. Go climb back in your box, right? It's okay to tell people that from time to time. I just felt as we launch out this morning, I want to just I lay a spiritual foundation if I can. And those that know me, and you should know me by now, that he's here because he loves you. Just tell the person next to you, he loves us. But I think that when Christians get saved, they lose their mind. Let me explain what I mean by that. I went down this rabbit hole because when I got saved, I realized, I went down this pathway where I thought, I don't actually have to worry about financial planning. I don't have to worry about discipline. I just pray and God does everything. I don't have to market. I don't actually have to be smart about presenting because God's just going to give me business and it's just going to come. And I went through a real wilderness experience realizing something's wrong. So maybe it was I needed generational curses broken. That didn't work, right? And so you go down this long rabbit hole to discover and end up where I am today to realize that there's a bridge. We're a three-part being. Now, I'm not preaching. I just need to lay a foundation before we move on. We're spirit. We're housed in a body. And we're controlled by an operating system called the mind. Right? And so the spirit realm is attached to God. Deep draws unto deep. That's our communication, our antenna. But he tells us to renew our minds according to his word. Because in that is transformation. So there's no transformation in this world without the renewal of the mind. And that led me to a journey where I became passionate about studying this to go, well, Lord, I'm a practical person. I'm not a deep person. I don't use big words. My tongue gets tangled. I'm like, man, I understand it, but don't ask me to say it, please. And I just realized all I want to be able to do is how do I do stuff practical? And I'm the type of person that if I can't figure out how to do it practical, I don't want to do it. Just give me the practicalities. What does it look like practically that I can live it out on this earth, right? And so I went down this journey studying neurolinguistics, neuroscience, understanding the mind-body connection, starting to realize how all this works. And then going back to Scripture to say, God, what do you say about this? Is this the New Age thing? Or is this actually your thing that people have hijacked? And the church has been so slow to catch up that they're stuck in the spirit dimension, but they don't know how to bring heaven to earth. Because we're a vessel, right? We're a practical mechanism. We're the hands and feet of Jesus. And so in your business, in your marketplace, we should have cutting-edge advantage purely by being children of the Most High, led by the Spirit of God that knows all things. But then how do I actually connect and relate to the world? And I call that the bridge. The soulish realm is the bridge from the spirit realm to the earth. To get my body to conform with what heaven is declaring, there's a bridge. And I need to rewire that. You're with me? And so I need to deal with that hardware issue so that my software runs correct. And I think a lot of believers, and I'm glad that Dave's sharing some of the stuff he's sharing, because I think a lot of the church has been on this tangent, where they just don't know how to practically outwork the practicalities. God is more practical. Jesus was more practical. He gave more practical analogies than supernatural analogies. And so that's my assignment is really, Ethan asked me if there's one thing I wanted everybody to get out of these sessions, what would it be? And I said, well, in 30, 40 minutes, you can't give a full experience in what I'm teaching. But if there's one thing that you can take away, it is an awareness of what I'm saying. If we walk away and we're just aware of what we've been saying, that already puts you on an edge, on a front foot. And I think that's important. I want to just lay one scripture foundation before I move into it, because I like to go to the Bible and go, what does the Word say about this, and how do we practically outwork this? And I am going to be talking about, not that one. It's the managing fear and anxiety one, guys, if you don't mind. But I'm going to be talking about managing fear and anxiety. How many know it's not a bad thing to learn how to manage fear and anxiety in the day we're in? Yeah? So in 2 Timothy, it talks about, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but power and love and of a sound mind. That sound mind talks about a disciplined, self-controlled mind, which means the key to overcome fear and anxiety is, how do I discipline my mind? Not how do I cast out demons, but how do I discipline my mind? And I want to look at that from a neuroscience, from a practical point of view today. What does that actually mean for us? Okay? Are we all good to go? Almost. It's fine. How many, if I say to you, fear and anxiety, is it real? I see some of the faces like, are you kidding me? Were you in my week this week? Of course it's real, right? It's a real thing. Fear and anxiety is a real thing. But the problem is this. Fear and anxiety is a manifestation in the body and mind. So when we really define that, it's not a real thing out there, but it's a real thing in you. You look at me like going, oh, I don't quite agree with you. Yeah, you will by the time I'm finished, right? Fear. Do you know that fear and excitement are the exact same thing? Fear and excitement are the exact same thing. The exact same thing happens in your body in both situations. When you're in a state of fear, something taking place, and fear kicks in, versus excitement, the exact same things start to happen inside your body. Your physical state, the same chemicals are released. The difference is what you tell yourself about the situation. So let me give you a practical example, because I'm very practical, right? Public speaking. How many love public speaking? Good. Notice not many people in the room put their hand up, right? But can I tell you what? The exact same thing happens to every person when they get up and speak. You're telling me things happen in you? Absolutely. The difference is, what do I tell myself about it before I get up and speak? So fear doesn't drive me, excitement drives me. But the exact same things, the butterflies, the tingling, sometimes people start sweating, whatever. But it's what meaning and definition I start giving it determines how I start attaching the feeling to what I'm feeling, right? So when I get up and speak, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I got to say, what happens if I say the wrong thing? What happens if you say the right thing? What happens if somebody doesn't like it? Well, here's a new flash. Somebody in a room will not like it. But I'm not looking for the one that doesn't like it. I'm just looking for one that likes it. Because the one that likes it is the one that possibly going to go change their organization, change their family, change the community, make an impact, become the next billionaire, come on, fund the next great kingdom initiative. I'm just looking for that one person. I'm not looking for the critics in the room. We had a guy in the church that every sermon I'd get off and he'd be waiting. Do you know what Brother Hagin would say about that? I said, I don't care. I just told you what Jesus said about it. You've got to get robust, right? Right? Do you know that word you used? You used it in the wrong context. I said, but did you get anything out the message? Clearly not, right? And so it's really what you start telling yourself about it. And so it's in that moment where those things start happening in you, you have an opportunity. What do you start telling yourself about the outcome? So you start shifting it from a place of fear to excitement, right? Personally, by the meaning that you start attaching to it. You're with me? Yeah. Okay, we're going to have some fun today. Oh, look at that. Could you go to the next slide for me if you don't mind? So look what happens. There's three things that begin to happen. For both of them, your physical response, fear and excitement, both adrenaline and cortisol are released. Now, cortisol is good for you in dose, but extended periods is not good for you, right? But the exact same thing, the adrenaline kicks in. Like adrenaline kicks in, right? Like you're about to get up and speak, or you're about to climb on an aeroplane, and it's like, oh my gosh, or turbulence happening. It's like, what meaning are you giving to the thing? The exact same things start happening in you physically. The difference is your state that you end up in, right? But the second thing is this, your cognitive interpretation. In other words, the actual meaning that you begin to give to it. In other words, what association do I give to it? Have I got an anticipated excitement, an anticipated outcome, a good outcome attached to it? So now I start wiring myself to the latter, and it starts becoming a good thing. Or do I have a negative? Do I allow all the negative lies and limiting beliefs and self-doubt and all those low-lying things start to drive me, and now it starts to affect me? Why? Because yesterday we spoke about it. What you think about starts to release chemicals in the feeling part, ends up becoming emotions. My emotions drive my state drives my actions. So guess what? If I rock up here going, you know, I wasn't feeling so good last night. I woke up this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, no, not going to happen. I don't pay attention to that. I get up here and I move, I jump around, I get up and I go, you're not going to stop me. I'm here to give my best. I'm going to give my best. I'll deal with you later, right? And so what is that? I don't choose to let my mind go somewhere. Some of you were here yesterday, my little boy, 3-year-old, he was not well. But I'm going, you know what? God's got him. I'm on assignment right now. I'm not going to focus there. I'm focused. I'm so present in this room right now. Yeah. Right now, I'm here. I'm present. Afterwards, I'll deal with that, right? But everything has to do with where I start leaning my cognitive thinking. It's going to impact it. But what happens, the third thing, is my behavior. My behavior starts to follow, right? So physical responses, what's happening in my body, the state. Second thing, my mind starts ticking over. Where am I focused on? The third thing, my behavior starts to move. So in other words, the difference between fear and excitement is, do I move into a place of avoidance? I start avoiding. Or do I move into a place where, hey, I'm approaching this thing. I'm going to lean into it. Can you see that? But both start off in the exact same place. But it's like milliseconds that you have a decision which way to go with it. All right? I'll tell you a story. About 20-something years ago, when I was a new believer, I had a friend. He was a motivational speaker and author in South Africa, and he called me. He said, Shaun, would you like to come and talk to a group? It was about 100 business people, pastors, leaders, business people. And he said, would you like to come and speak? I've never spoken publicly, right? And the humorous part was, I couldn't even launch a business. I was struggling. And I'm going, I don't know what you're thinking. Your career will be ruined just by having me there. He says, I feel God wants you to, because there's a calling on your life. And I'm going, okay. I went and bought a suit. I went in like, what do I say? He says, I want you to talk to them about the importance of branding. Brand awareness. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. To be honest with you, I think it was so traumatic, I can't even remember what I said. But I remember that time, and the weeks building up to it, I was like, I wanted to throw up just thinking about it. I was shaking. When I got up there, you ever seen this before? And it's like, how you guys doing? It's like, yeah, I was like that. But what was the difference between then and now? I just channeled the exact same thing into excitement, anticipation. Somebody's life's going to change here. Somebody's going to be impacted. Somebody's going to be catalytic. And we have that opportunity every day in our businesses when things face us. what is the decision we're going to do? What are we going to do with the stuff that's coming against us? When COVID came, man, we leaned into it. We were ready for it. We literally went from 1 week, flicked a switch. We had a whole room set up for live stream, ready to go. We already had a COVID safe-ish plan for Sundays. And the moment they said you can't go, we got game on. We just flipped because we were ready for it. We moved into this position. And the church was the most financially prosperous ever that year. The greatest finances. We reached more people on social media than ever before. We reached nations, not just the local. Why? Because we were positioned ready going, and then the government grants were handing out these things for people struggling. And we said, we're not going to declare that. We're not asking for that. We're going to increase. Right? So what was it? It was a decision. In the face of things happening, you have a moment to make a decision. Do I move with anticipation and take the same thing and move into fear and anxiety? Or do I move into a place of excitement and, hey, this is opportunity in front of us? It's a real thing. And I'm trying to give a bit more practical here, but can I go to, am I in control? Should be good. Listen to this. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find inner strength. You have power over your mind, but you don't have power over external events. And I think when you realize this, that you actually walk in a different level of power. Everything we've been talking about is the same thing. Literally, I'm just giving you a bit of an extension of some of the stuff I was talking about yesterday. But I find fear and anxiety is probably one of the biggest issues that we're facing in society today. You know, statistically, they say that more than 2 out of 5 Australians, right, between 16 and 85, have experienced mental disorders, right? Nearly 16,000 participated in a study between 2020 and 2022, and anxiety was one of the most common groups of mental disorders in that whole study they found. So 1 in 6 Australians basically had an anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder, right? Could it be something that if people just learn how to deal with their thought life and give new meaning to situations, start looking at things through a different perspective and lens, could that change that whole stat? I believe it can, right? And so we have the opportunity as believers, God tells us, and this is, you know, we were talking about, Dave mentioned it yesterday, and some of it came up in the Q&A. You know, the world, the New Age movements, whatever you want to look at it, have caught on and know how these principles work. Science has taught them. But we have the Word of God saying, listen, discipline your mind, renew it, and you make your way successful. And we want God to do all the heavy lifting and work, but He's done it all. I'm not preaching, but Genesis, He did it all right there. Then at Calvary, He said, like, I just seal it for you, like, here's the deal done, now walk in it. And so we just got to walk in it. We got to know how to renew our minds, how to discipline our minds. Can I go to the next slide? I want to talk you through 5 phases that happen when dealing with anxiety. I call it the anxiety cycle, or you could call it the anxiety loop. The first thing is the thought life, right? How many know a situation happens? You get that email Monday morning. Anybody had that email Monday morning? Or maybe it was Friday afternoon. That's worse because you can't do anything over the weekend, right? I think the Friday one's worse than the Monday one, right? Because the whole weekend is like, man, I'm trying to be present with my family, but I've got to deal with this thing. So let's say you got the Friday afternoon email. All of a sudden, those thoughts come, right? Start releasing those chemicals in the feeling part of the brain. And then you start fueling it with thoughts of anxiety and worst case, worst outcomes. What are you doing there? You're neurologically rewiring your networks, right? So what's going to happen to your state? Your state shifts. You're with me? Your state shifts. And so now I start to align neuro pathways that put me in this negative mindset, this negative attitude, this mood, right? I won't go there. I'll behave. Feelings. The second thing is your feelings, right? They start getting triggered. Your emotions start getting triggered. We looked at emotional triggers yesterday. But depending on if it's a new situation, like maybe the fear level is not that bad, but maybe you haven't dealt with past things. Maybe, for example, maybe you've been somebody in this room and you've had business failed multiple times, right? And then you've on this journey with a new business, and all of a sudden there's a massive something swerves at you, and now you get triggered and stimulated, going, "Yeah, we go again." Anybody ever been there? I've dealt with people, and it's like, "Yeah, we go again." What about it looks the same as it was before? It doesn't have to. All that's happening is you're getting triggered into these feelings and past traumas and emotions and setting you up going, this is going to be the same thing. And if we think the same thoughts we thought yesterday, we're going to have the same results tomorrow. So I have an opportunity to discipline my mind and go, you know what? No, I'm going to look for new opportunities in this because it's not the same. It's not the same business. It's not the same circumstances. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. It's not the same. But our mind will tell us it's exactly the same. It gives us generalizations and deletions. It's deleting a whole lot of information and facts that's not there, right? So we need to once again become aware of this. The next thing is, and just with that, you know, when there's an extensive release of cortisol held in your body, there's things that start affecting you. I mean, you know, people try to do all the right medication, all the right stuff to lose weight. But really what's happening is you're sitting with stress and anxiety. And like you're eating right. It's just the stress and anxiety that is causing it, you know. Or it might be your immune function, your immune disorder. You go, I'm always getting sick. Why? Because you're in anxiety and stress, right? What is disease? It's dis-ease in your body. So this is more than just a mind renewal thing. This is hey, how do I look after the temple? I need to look after the mind. Right? There's more disease caused in people that walk in unforgiveness, stress, and anxiety than anything. You can heal yourself. The Bible says, this affects, you know, religious people. There's none here. But it says, physician, heal yourself. Which means you can heal your body just by controlling your thoughts. Thoughts are energy. You are water, you are energy. Oh, that's New Age. Cast him out the ministry. No, it's not. It's the Bible. Right? Come on. Okay. The other thing is, I know it never happens, but mood changes. I think it's all this side because the nervous laugh happened this side, right? Right? Hey, have you ever been with somebody and you go, all the married couples don't, just look at the screen. But you ever gone like, you're fighting with each other, right? And then your partner, well, I'll just say the wife in this instance, gets a phone call from a friend or something, and like, oh yeah, that'll be cool. And you're sitting there going, 2 minutes ago, you were like in such a mood. It was like Melbourne weather. And they phone you, and it's like all cool. How can you go from that place to that place like that? So, yeah, it's a woman thing. I never said, for the recording, I never said it was somebody in the crowd. Right? But can you think about it? How? It was a shift of focus, that's all. A shift of mind, a shift of association and meaning, all of a sudden my state changes. Can you see that? So when people go like, they triggered me, I said, no, you allowed them to trigger you. Why are you in a mood? No, you don't know what I'm going through. I got a stressful job. No, you don't have a stressful job. You just haven't figured out a process to manage your job. There's no such thing as a stressful job. It's you don't have the right systems in place to manage your job. You don't have the right things in place to manage yourself through that process. Right? Just come and do. I'm sure a lot of you go through stuff, but it's really how do I look at the things that are happening to me, and how do I first manage myself in that process? How do I manage my teams through that process? And do we have practical systems in place to help manage? Adrian's going to help us with some really cool stuff. I was like, I don't want to talk today. I want to just listen to his stuff today. I was like, man, he's going to save me a lot of anxiety. Can you see how it's simple, right? Then your physical state changes. Do you know that your physiology, your physical responses, just test this for a moment, right? Just everybody sit forward for a moment. And I want you to just look down, like slash your body like as much as you can. And I want you just to think of something that's happened just recently and just load it. Like think of something that's just annoyed you or fearful or I'll bring you back out of it, don't worry. But just think about it for a moment. Can you feel, but I want you to feel it. Can you feel the frustration, the anger, the intensity of it? Can you? Right? Now, can you do me a favor? Can you just even stand up for the moment? Can you just stand up for the moment? Can you just open, he's got it. Can you just open up, lift up, or do something, but looking up, right? Now try to think of the exact same thing. How hard is it to think of the same thing and feel it the same way? Can you feel that? Because physiologically, there are neurons that are attached to the back of your mind. Isn't it interesting that Scripture says, look up, all ye gates? But have you heard the saying, things are looking up? What does that mean? It's just an old saying, like things are good. You may be seated, by the way. And when you look down, what's that? Things are looking down. Things are looking gloomy. It's a physical thing. So you can shift your state by physically shifting your posture. And I'm not saying this is a studied thing or research thing, but it is today from Shaun Smit here in Gosford. You can publish this statement. But I think people that have office jobs and in front of computers and working slouched the whole time have probably higher probability of living in anxiety and stress than somebody that's out and about active and moving the whole time. I'm not saying that there isn't stressful, but it's just my thing, because you're always in the state of, you're just physically, you're in the wrong posture. I do a lot of work behind a computer, man. I do a lot of work behind there. And particularly building up to this conference, and there's other things we've been doing. So it's like a lot of prep work. It's just been like in front of computers the whole time. And I find sometimes like I get into this place where you just start feeling, you're not as creative. You actually start spiraling down. And so when I feel like that, I change my scenery. I get into a different location. I go work at the office. I go sit at a coffee shop where there's a view. Something shifts straight away. Or if you're in the office, what I do, if I've got a timer on my phone. I never sit in front of the computer longer than 45 minutes at a time. So I have 45-minute bursts of intensity and focus. And then my alarm goes off. I get up and I walk. Our offices, Dave's seen our offices, and I walk through the boardroom to the kitchen. I go get myself a water. I stretch, just 15 minutes, and I come back, and I sit down. So you go, well, that's an hour and a half you're wasting of 15-minute intervals. I'm more productive in the 45-minute sessions of intense focus than trying to sit 2 hours slogging away, because all of a sudden, cognitively, I start going into daydreams. An email pops up. I get distracted. Your productivity starts doing this. And so I find for myself that that's what I do, and it works. It's shifting that state, that posture. You're getting something out of this. The fourth thing that starts to happen, though, is avoidance. So in the anxiety loop, what happens is we move into this place of avoidance. Behavior patterns start showing up. So when fear and anxiety happen, either two things happen. Either I want to avoid situations or I want to escape it. So you go, is that the same thing? No, it's not. Avoidance means sometimes I end up in a place of procrastination. I keep putting it off because I'm in fear. Like I don't want to address it. Right? But when I get into a place of escape, that can be a place where addictions or bad habits start happening. Because it's coping mechanisms. So when extreme fear and anxiety happens, and people are stuck in different addictions or whatever, it can be whatever. It could be alcohol, it could be food, it could be whatever. Really, when somebody talks to me about that and goes like, I've got this eating disorder, I've got this drinking disorder, I've got this, and I'm going, what are you anxious about? Well, nothing. No, what are you anxious about? Tell me your story. And you find out that somewhere there's a fear or somewhere there's a lie that they've received. And it's just about dealing with a few things. So it's not dealing with that. If you deal with this back, that gets broken free, and you can reprogram new habits, right? You with me? Because all that happens is when I'm in a habit formation, I get a cue. So when I'm overwhelmed and stressed, there's a cue going, eat that cake, drink that, you need another cup of coffee. It's like your 7th one for the day, but you need another one, right? And so a cue happens. So what happens after there? I respond to it. There's a response. I engage in it. Then what happens? There's a reward, dopamine. So I end up in this loop, this habit loop, right? And I don't break free of it. And the longer it runs, the stronger that pattern, the habit becomes, and I can't break it. But the problem is not always that. It could be something back here. And I'm not saying it's always anxiety and fear, but it is a predominant one that I've experienced, and I've dealt with people, is that this fear and anxiety is causing you in this loop cycle. And so I start allowing habits to kick in, and those habits start forming and strengthening because I get in the cycle. You know, just for curiosity, I wasn't going to do this, but, you know, to break habits, you know, when that cue comes, and let's say it's like, okay, I've had my 3rd, 4th coffee because I'm anxious and I'm stressed out, and I want this coffee. When that cue comes, I just go, what can I replace it with? So I don't want to stop it because willpower doesn't help, but how can I replace it? So have a cup of tea, or have a kombucha, or have something there that I can, it's alternative. And slowly I start to change that pattern where I don't need anything. Right? People try and cold turkey things, and it just doesn't work because they're trying to do it with willpower, not reprogramming. And so there's a reprogramming mechanism we need to look at. So can I ask for the next slide? And I want to give you some practical things in a few moments. I'm going to get through this. This was Thailand in 2009, I think it was, 2009. And we were snorkeling out. Anybody been to Thailand? Anybody been to PP Island? Yeah? Okay, so you know where I'm talking. So we were snorkeling out there, and it was around 3:30 p.m., and I get out and I'm drying up, and this is our beautiful boat that's going to take us an hour across the ocean back to the resort. And in the distance, I said to my wife, I said, I think we got a storm coming. Now, where we were, it was blue waters, blue skies, but the distance we were going, it was black. So I said, darling, I said, trust me. I said, we're going to sit right at the back. We're going to sit right here. She says, we're going to have all the exhaust fumes. I said, you want to throw up or you want exhaust fumes? Exhaust fumes. I said, great choice. We sat at the back. We were 15 minutes into the journey into the ocean, and the waves got so big, you couldn't see the skyline. They were over the boat, rushing over, and probably till about there, water was rushing through the floor of the boat. And all the brave men that wanted to sit in the front actually were white and almost in tears. And there was a lot of crying on, and being in Thailand, they don't have life jackets. My wife shouts out and goes, do you think we should have life jackets? Everybody rushes, and the people on staff are looking for life jackets, right? It's hilarious. And so they find a few. When I say few, not enough. There was a few. So I opted not to have one. I just made sure the ladies had. I said, you just put life jackets on. It's fine. I'll be fine. Jesus loves me. I'll go home to be with him. Or I love the ocean. I'm a diver. I love the ocean. I said, I'll be fine. You know, just don't leave me stranded too long. But what happened was I started to pay attention. The skipper had fox gloves on, like racing gloves. So they took it out the glove compartment and put it on. I'm observing all this. There was a young, he must have been about 13 years old. He's sitting this side. Not that side, this side. And I'm looking at this going, but the interesting thing was he had his arm locked and he was sleeping with the boat doing that. And so I'm looking at this, I said, babes, everyone's focused on the storm, but there's two things I'm focused on right now. The skipper had gloves ready, so he's obviously done this before. And the little dude, either it's his first day on the job, and he's really in denial, or he's done this before, but he looks pretty cool. And I said, we're on the best part of the boat, the pivot point, it'll be fine. And so I thought it was an adventure. I thought it was cool. My wife didn't, but I thought this was such a cool experience. Like movie world, all those things could not top this ride. But I guess the point of it was this, that everybody was focused on the storm. I was focused on the journey. Right? I took my eyes off the storm, and so I had a peace, a state of peace and rest in me in the midst of the storm. Everybody else were throwing up, praying to whoever they were praying to. I said, he's dead. It's not going to help you. Right? And so the whole point of it is, I'm just going to give you a few keys quickly, and then we're going to go into some Q&A. I'm just going to drop these with you. We need to identify what is the feeling I'm feeling. We spoke about it yesterday, so I'm not going to spend too much time there. But we need to ask ourselves, why am I fearful about this situation? Why am I fearful about what's in front of me? Why am I anxious? Remember, awareness. Why am I anxious? The second thing is you need to interrupt it. The best way I interrupt and deal with it is deep, shallow breath. It realigns and does something in your body that just stops and stabilizes everything. Right? Move your posture, exercise, whatever you need to do. I was sharing with one, remember I said, are there any pilots in the room yesterday? There was a pilot. I won't name him. But he came and said, you know, one of the things they train you in pilot school now is that in a case of an emergency, they actually train you that don't do anything for a few seconds. Don't respond. Take a deep breath, don't respond. And then practice, just flow in what you've been trained to do. So it becomes automated. I don't think about it, I just go through the sequencing. And that's the best thing to do, is don't respond to things immediately. Listen, an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour a day is probably not going to make a big difference. And so when we stop and pause and identify and interrupt that moment and take a deep breath, we come back with a whole different perspective when we engage it. Anybody ever responded to an email straight away? I made a few serious mistakes. I was like, let me help them quickly. And after you send it, you go, oh, I've just messed something up so badly. I've just made this so bad. 4 days later, you go, I could have actually emailed it like this, and it would have been a lot better. Just step away from it. The third thing is assess it. You have to ask yourself the questions, what do I have control of? What do I actually physically have control of right now? Make a list. The next thing is, what don't I have control of? Now, as faith people, guess what? We can just give it to God. Or bring a team in and go, I bring my counselor and go, hey, what do you guys think and feel about this? And then the answers will come. But when I process and go through this processing, it helps me deal with this anxiety loop. And then the fourth thing is start adjusting it. Start looking into the future. If you had a situation right now, and you go, if I don't have this solution in 3 days, in 4 days, in 5 weeks, whatever it is, X, Y, Z is going to happen. But if I did have a solution, this is what it would look like. I project myself and go stand this side a day or 2 or 3 days after my solution has come. And I look backwards and I go, if I was telling myself back there what to do, what steps to take to get here, what would I actually be telling myself? How would I be looking back? What would I be feeling when I look back? All of a sudden, I start rewiring myself. I start future pacing. I start looking into the future going, this is the possibilities of the outcome, and it's great. So what's the solution? The solution comes. Creativity kicks in. We're wired with answers. We have answers inside of us. But we just have to get the short circuit, the circuit breakers out of the way. Yeah?